For centuries, believers and scholars have pored over the final book of the Christian Bible, seeking to understand its mysterious visions and apocalyptic warnings. The Book of Revelation, also known as the Apocalypse of John, stands as one of the most enigmatic and debated texts in all of religious literature. But what if there's more to this ancient prophecy than what meets the eye? What secrets might be hidden within its symbolic language, and why have some interpretations been suppressed throughout history? The origins of the final book, written near the end of the 1st century CE. The Book of Revelation was penned by a man named John while he was exiled on the Greek island of Patmos. According to tradition, this John was one of Jesus' original disciples, though some scholars debate this attribution. What remains undisputed is the profound impact this text has had on Western civilization, influencing art, literature, politics, and countless religious movements across 2 millennia. The book begins with letters to 7 churches in Asia Minor, offering both praise and criticism for their spiritual conditions. But it's what comes after these letters that has captivated and terrified readers for generations. A series of visions depicting the end of the world as we know it, complete with cosmic battles, divine judgments, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. The language of symbols. One of the most striking features of Revelation is its deeply symbolic language. The text is filled with images that seem almost alien to modern readers. A lamb with 7 horns and 7 eyes. A woman clothed with the sun standing on the moon. A great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. Locusts with human faces and lion's teeth. And a beast rising from the sea with blasphemous names written on its heads. This symbolic approach wasn't arbitrary. In the 1st century, when Rome ruled with an iron fist and Christians faced persecution, writing in coded language was a matter of survival. The symbols used in Revelation would have been recognizable to its original audience, drawing on imagery from Jewish apocalyptic literature, Old Testament prophecies, and the shared experiences of early Christian communities. For example, when Revelation speaks of Babylon the Great, early Christians would have understood this as a reference to Rome, the empire that destroyed Jerusalem and persecuted followers of Jesus. The number 606, famously called the number of the beast, may have been a coded reference to Emperor Nero, whose name in Hebrew numerology adds up to that exact figure. The hidden meanings. But beyond these historical references, many believe there are deeper layers of meaning embedded in the text. Throughout history, various groups have claimed to have unlocked the true interpretation of Revelation's prophecies, often seeing in them predictions of events in their own time. Some interpreters focus on the cyclical nature of the visions, suggesting that Revelation doesn't describe a single, linear sequence of events but rather presents the same story from multiple perspectives. In this view, the 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls of wrath aren't consecutive judgments but overlapping descriptions of the same apocalyptic period. Others point to the numerological patterns woven throughout the text. The number 7 appears repeatedly: 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls, 7 spirits representing completeness and divine perfection. 12, another significant number, appears in the 12 gates of the New Jerusalem, the 12 foundations, and the 144,000 sealed servants, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. These patterns suggest that Revelation operates on multiple levels simultaneously: historical, symbolic, and spiritual. What appears on the surface as a straightforward narrative of events may actually be a complex theological meditation on the nature of evil, the cost of faithfulness, and the ultimate sovereignty of God. The suppressed interpretations throughout church history. Certain interpretations of Revelation have been discouraged, dismissed, or actively suppressed. In some cases, this was because these readings challenged the authority of religious institutions. In others, it was because they led to dangerous extremism or social upheaval. During the Middle Ages, some mystical interpretations of Revelation suggested that the 1,000-year reign, mentioned in chapter 20, was about to begin, and that the institutional church would be replaced by a new age of the Spirit. These ideas, promoted by figures like Joachim of Fiore, were viewed as heretical by church authorities, because they undermined the church's claim to be God's final and permanent institution on earth. The Protestant Reformation saw Revelation wielded as a weapon in theological disputes, with reformers identifying the Pope as the Antichrist and the Catholic Church as the Whore of Babylon. This interpretation, though popular among Protestants for centuries, represented a departure from earlier Christian understandings that saw the book primarily as a source of hope and encouragement for persecuted believers. In more recent times, certain scholarly interpretations have faced resistance from conservative religious communities. When researchers suggest that Revelation was primarily concerned with first-century events and wasn't necessarily predicting events thousands of years in the future, they often face accusations of undermining biblical authority or destroying believers. Hope. The cosmic battle. At the heart of Revelation lies a vision of cosmic conflict. Chapter 12 presents one of the most dramatic scenes. A woman gives birth to a child who is destined to rule all nations, while a great dragon waits to devour the child at birth. When the child is caught up to heaven, the dragon pursues the woman, but she is given wings to fly into the wilderness. This scene is often interpreted as depicting the birth of Jesus and Satan's attempts to destroy him, but it also represents something more universal, the ongoing struggle between good and evil, between God's purposes and the forces that oppose them. The dragon's defeat in heaven cast down to earth explains why evil still exists in the world even though Christ has already won the ultimate victory. What makes this vision particularly intriguing is its cosmic scope. This isn't just a human conflict or a political struggle. It's a battle that encompasses all of creation, involving angels and demons, heaven and earth, past and future. It suggests that the events of human history are part of a much larger story, one that began before our world was created and will continue until a new creation emerges. The mark of the beast. No element of revelation has generated more speculation and fear than the mark of the beast described in chapter 13. According to the text, this mark will be required for all people to buy or sell, and those who refuse it will face economic exclusion and potentially death. Throughout history, nearly every new technology or social development has been identified by someone as the mark of the beast. Credit cards, barcodes, microchips, social security numbers, vaccines, and smartphones have all been accused of fulfilling this prophecy. This pattern reveals more about human anxiety in the face of change than it does about the text itself. In its original context, the mark of the beast likely referred to the requirement that all citizens of the Roman Empire participate in emperor worship. To refuse was to mark yourself as a traitor, with severe social and economic consequences. The mark on the hand or forehead may have been a metaphorical reference to loyalty and devotion you serve with your hands and think with your mind, but the deeper meaning transcends any specific historical circumstance. The mark represents the choice every person must make. Will you align yourself with worldly power and participate in systems of oppression and injustice? Or will you remain faithful to a different kingdom, even at great personal cost? It's a question that remains relevant in every age. Asterisk, the new creation. While much attention focuses on Revelation's visions of destruction and judgment, the book's climax is actually a vision of breathtaking beauty and hope. The final chapters describe a new heaven and a new earth, where God dwells with humanity, where death is no more, where tears are wiped away, and where the curse that has plagued creation since the fall is finally removed. The new Jerusalem that descends from heaven is described in stunning detail, its walls made of jasper, its foundations adorned with precious stones, its streets of pure gold, its gates that never shut. The city has no temple, because God's presence fills it entirely. It needs no sun or moon, because God's glory illuminates it. Asterisk, this vision represents the ultimate fulfillment of God's purposes for creation. It's not an escape from physical reality into some ethereal spiritual realm, but rather the redemption and transformation of physical creation itself. Heaven comes to earth, and the two are united in a way that was always intended but has been prevented by human rebellion and sin. Through the middle of the city flows a river of the water of life, and on each side of the river stands the tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit and leaves for the healing of the nations. This is the restoration of Eden, but it's more than restoration. It's the fulfillment and completion of what Eden only began. The story that started in a garden ends in a city, suggesting that human culture, creativity, and community are not contrary to God's purposes, but part of them when properly ordered. The timing question, one of the most contentious debates surrounding Revelation, concerns the question of when these events will occur. The text itself seems to suggest imminence, with repeated phrases like "what must soon take place" and "the time is near." Yet 2,000 years have passed, and many of the predicted events have not occurred in any literal sense. Different schools of interpretation have emerged to address this tension. Preterists argue that most or all of Revelation's prophecies were fulfilled in the 1st century, particularly in the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE and the persecution under Roman emperors. Historicists see the book as a prophetic outline of church history, with different visions corresponding to different historical periods. Futurists maintain that most of Revelation's events are still future, awaiting fulfillment in a final apocalyptic period. Idealists or symbolists view the book as a timeless spiritual allegory depicting the ongoing struggle between good and evil. Each approach has its strengths and weaknesses. Preterism takes seriously the book's claims about timing but struggles to explain passages that seem to describe cosmic, end-of-the-world events. Futurism maintains the dramatic, literal quality of the prophecies but must explain the 2,000-year delay. Idealism preserves the book's ongoing relevance but risks losing its concrete historical grounding. Perhaps the truth incorporates elements of all these approaches. Revelation may have had immediate relevance for its 1st century audience, while also pointing forward to ultimate realities that transcend any single historical moment. The book's symbols may refer to specific historical events, while simultaneously representing recurring patterns throughout history. The political dimension Revelation is, among other things, a profoundly political text. It presents an alternative vision of power that directly challenges the claims of earthly empires. When Rome declared that Caesar was Lord and demanded worship of the emperor as a god, Revelation proclaimed that Jesus is Lord and that ultimate authority belongs to God alone. This political dimension has made Revelation both dangerous and attractive to various movements throughout history. It has inspired resistance to tyranny, but it has also fueled apocalyptic violence. It has given hope to the oppressed, but it has also been used to demonize opponents and justify aggression. The image of Christ in Revelation is complex and sometimes unsettling. He appears as a slaughtered lamb, emphasizing his sacrificial death, but he also appears as a conquering warrior with a sword coming from his mouth, leading the armies of heaven. This dual imagery reflects the paradox at the heart of Christian theology. Ultimate power is revealed through self-giving love, yet this love does not tolerate evil forever. The judgment scenes in Revelation can be disturbing in their violence and finality, but they also represent the vindication of victims and the end of injustice. For those who have suffered under oppressive systems, the promise that evil will not have the last word is good news, not a threat. Living in light of the end, whatever one's interpretation of Revelation specifics. The book calls its readers to live in a particular way. The letters to the 7 churches emphasize faithfulness, endurance, and resistance to compromise. The visions of judgment warn against aligning with oppressive powers or participating in injustice. The vision of new creation invites hope and persistence in the face of suffering. Revelation reminds us that the world as it currently exists is not the world as it was meant to be or as it will ultimately become. This creates a creative tension. We are called to work for justice and peace in this world, while recognizing that ultimate transformation comes from God, not human effort alone. The book also challenges any attempt to be spiritual without consequences in the physical world. The judgments in Revelation fall on economic systems, political powers, and social structures, not just individual souls. Faithfulness to God involves both personal devotion and engagement with the systems that shape our common life. The mystery remains, despite centuries of interpretation. Revelation retains its mystery. New readers continue to discover fresh insights, and scholars continue to debate its meaning. This ongoing engagement suggests that the book operates more like poetry than like a simple code to be cracked. Its symbols are rich enough to support multiple layers of meaning, and its visions are powerful enough to speak to different times and situations. Perhaps the forbidden prophecy hidden in Revelation is simply this: that God's purposes will ultimately triumph, that suffering and evil do not have the last word, that justice will be done, and that creation will be renewed. This message has always been potentially dangerous to powers that depend on violence, exploitation, and the threat of death to maintain control. The hope of Revelation is not an escape from the world, but the transformation of the world. It's not the destruction of creation, but its redemption. It's not the victory of power through violence, but the victory of love through sacrifice. These are truths that every empire and every tyrant has tried to suppress, making them truly forbidden prophecies in the deepest sense. Conclusion: the book of Revelation remains one of the most fascinating and challenging texts in religious literature. Its symbolic language, cosmic scope, and apocalyptic visions continue to captivate readers while defying simple interpretation. Whether understood as a first-century resistance document, a prophecy of future events, a timeless spiritual allegory, or some combination of these, Revelation offers both warning and hope. What is hidden in this biblical book of the end may not be secret codes or suppressed information so much as profound truths about power, justice, suffering, and hope that challenge both religious and secular authorities. It reminds us that reality is larger than what we can see, that evil will not triumph forever, and that the story of creation is moving toward a good end, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. As we continue to grapple with Revelation's visions, we join a conversation that has spanned 2 millennia, adding our voices to the countless others who have sought to understand what this mysterious text reveals about God, humanity, and the ultimate destiny of all things. If you found this exploration of biblical prophecy fascinating, please follow our channel for more deep dives into religious mysteries and ancient texts. Don't forget to like this content and share it with others who might be interested in uncovering the hidden meanings within Scripture. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful, accessible content about the world's most influential religious writings. Thank you for reading, and we look forward to exploring